Welcome back, everyone. In this lecture, we're going to go now over the solutions for the errors and exceptions homework problems. Let's open up Jupyter Notebook and get started. Okay, taking a look at the first problem, it was to handle the exception thrown by the code here below. So let's copy this and put it in a new cell. If I just run this by itself, we get that type error because we're trying to square a string, which doesn't really make sense. So what we need to do is put this whole block of code inside of a try block. And this is where indentation is really going to matter, because now we need to indent everything in order for alignment. So we have this try block right here, and then we can make an except call. And it's up to you whether you want to say except and catch that specific type error, and then print out type error, or whatever you want. So if I run this, it says type error, watch out. Or if you don't want to catch this specific error, just any error, you don't actually need to say that. You can just say except, and you get the same thing. In this case, it wouldn't be a type error. We could just say something like general error, watch out. Main idea being that you need to put that piece of code inside that try block, have an except line up with it, and then say something. Let's move on to problem 2. This was to handle the exception thrown by the code below using try and except blocks. Then finally, block to print all done. I'm going to copy this, put it back here. And if I just run this, let's confirm that we get an error. Looks like we're getting a 0 division error. So let's put this all inside of a try block. We will say try and indent all of this into the try block. You could also just highlight it all and then hit tab. Then I'm going to say except. And again, I can either say except 0 division error or just except by itself. We're going to print out error. And then finally, we'll print out all done. Hopefully this was pretty straightforward. So we say error, all done. And then the last one, probably the most complicated of them, was to write a function that asks for an integer and prints out the square of it. Use a while loop with a try except else block to account for the incorrect inputs. So we're going to copy this. We did something very similar in the lecture. So what are we going to do here is say while true. And it's up to you if you want to say while true or while some condition. So I'm going to say while true, try to say n is equal to the integer input of enter a number. Now if we have some sort of exception, and we're going to assume that the exception occurs when you try to transform that into an integer, we'll print out please try again. And then let's print out a new line, and we'll say continue. Now else, that means there's no exception. What we can do is say break. Optionally, you can have the finally in there, but remember the finally is going to occur every time. So let's run this and make sure this works. So we're going to say ask, shift enter to run that, enter a number. Let's say we enter 10, and it looks like we forgot to actually print out the squared, which is what was asking us. If we come back here, we're going to say thank you, your number squared is. So let's do that. And this is going to be outside of that while statement. So once this entire while loop is done running, we should have n ready to go. So we're going to print n to the power of 2. And we can say above that, print your number squared is. There we go. Okay, so now let's try this again so we actually get the results. We'll ask this again, enter a number. We'll say 10, enter, number squared is 100. So that's working. Let's now try to do something wrong. So we'll say A, and it says please try again. We'll say WE, please try again. Let's enter 2 now, and the number squared is 4. Okay, so that's how you can use a while true. So notice that while true is dependent on this break keyword. What you could do instead is say while something like waiting, and we can set waiting to be equal to true. So this is saying like we're waiting for a correct response. You can call this variable whatever you want. So I'm waiting for a correct response. I'm going to try this. I'm going to have the exception. Else, if there's no exception, then I can set waiting equal to false. I'm no longer waiting for the correct response. So that's the same thing, except we're not using a break statement. So we can try this again, make sure that tactic also works. Let's enter the wrong thing. Please try again. enter the right thing, and it works 4. Okay, so that's it for errors and exception handling. If you have any questions, feel free to post to the Q&A forums. I'll see you at the next lecture.